everyone. You're tuned in to the Path Radio Spotlight, courtesy of the pathradio.com. I am your host, Guido Peronno. I'm here to tell you that this summer marks a monumental moment for fans of Canada's most legendary rock bands. It's been 10 years since Rush took their final bow on stage, and now RushFest Canada 2025 is bringing fans together from around the world for a 2-day celebration at Toronto's Massey Hall and TD Music Hall. It's more than a concert, it's a heartfelt tribute, a reunion of super fans, and a fundraiser for brain cancer research in honor of Neil Peart. Joining me today is someone who knows the Rush story inside and out. Paul Beaulieu is a longtime music journalist, Rush historian, and one of the co-curators of this year's RushFest Canada. He's seen the band perform live over 100 times and has interviewed the people who built the band's legacy, from road crew to rock legends. Paul, welcome to the show. How you doing?
Oh, wow. Pretty good. Thank you for that. Yeah. 114 to be precise,
114.
including
That's
the last three shows in Phoenix and Irvine
incredible.
and of course, Los Angeles Forum, right? That was where the last show was. And yeah, just knew I had to go. And, I've been a fan since my first show was in 76 and been a fan since 75. So I knew I had to go down and as you mentioned, I know quite a few of the people involved in the Rush camp, and they kept telling me, "No, you want to go," so I did. Yeah,
So your first show was early 70s.
yeah, 76, Caress of Steel tour. Yeah,
76.
yeah.
Um,
75 is when I first heard Rush. So my guitar player in our band came in. He took my Stampeders, good band though, album off, and he put on Fly By Night on Anthem, and I heard it and I went, "Oh my!" I've been a Rush fan, a serious Rush fan ever since.
that's the moment that it was sealed and delivered, eh?
Well, it came and I just went, "Wow, this is awesome!" And the next year, when Across the Steel tour came out, I was living in North Bay at the time, and back then there was no seating on the floor, so I got there really early and I got right in front of the stage, and I just watched those three guys and I went, "Wow, I've made the right decision. These guys are pretty well the best there could be." And there's you see that, and other people may disagree, but to me it was like, wow. I remember seeing Alex standing right in front of me playing Bytor and the Snow Dog with the lights all around him, and watching Neil putting his sticks up, and like I just went, "Wow, these guys are amazing." Yeah.
So at what point did you like at some point, I mean you've gone to 10, then 20, then 30. Like do you realize as you're doing this that you're
Well, it took a long time to get up to that number. I mean, in the early years, I was still like maybe like 13, 14. I was only going, I lived in North Bay, so I was lucky because they had to go through North Bay to get out to Western Canada. So they came almost every year. And so that was great. I got to see a lot of tours, but I only went to one show. It wasn't until the latter years, I would say probably the R30 concert series that I went over to UK and I did all six shows in UK. I went to Italy. I went to Germany. I went, well, bananas, I guess. That's when I started going to see as many shows in as many places as I get to. And I'll just put a little caveat on this and the fact that, like, it's really cool. Like, okay, maybe I don't speak Italian, maybe I don't speak German, all that stuff, but I go to these concerts and it's the same. Everywhere you go, they're Rush fans and they love Rush. And if you're there to see Rush, they love you. Right. And that's why we started these like fan conventions because we realized there's a like group of people that I don't know, maybe we're a little zealots or whatever, but I mean, it's we just love Rush. And when I was growing up, it was hard to find people that loved Rush like you did. So I mean, you just went to your concerts by yourself and you enjoyed it and you talked to yourself. But all of a sudden, in 2001, RushCon started, a fan convention, and all of a sudden, hey, here's 200 people that love Rush and want to talk about Rush and listen to Rush, and I go, well, this is cool. And I helped out with the early Rush cons, and I helped out with every Rush con. And basically, RushFest Scotland, my buddy Steve started it. I've been over to every one out of except for one, out of the 11 years they've been running it. And then we said, hey, it's 10 years since the last Rush show, and Massey Hall. Massey Hall is like, wow, it's an iconic place in Canada, right? And it was a big venue for Rush too, right? So we said, hey, this is a no-brainer. Let's bring Rush Fest to Canada. Let's have it at Massey Hall.
So, Paul, let me back you up because
Sorry, yeah,
just
sorry.
gave us
Yeah.
a bunch of stuff
Just
here.
just
You
slow me
gave us
down
a
when you
bunch
need
of
to.
stuff.
Yeah, yeah.
Look,
Yeah.
there's a bunch of things that came out here. So, it sounds like the whole Rush thing's something very universal among fans. Like you're all getting together and you just have this camaraderie going on. But there's something else that you mentioned. Did the advent of the internet, the ability to network online, did that accelerate or change the way that Rush fans got together for these things now?
Well, that's an interesting question. I mean, actually, I just locked out in 2001. A friend of mine said, "There's a Rush fan convention. Why aren't you there?" And I go, "What?" And I
Right.
didn't know it because there wasn't the internet back then like that. And then I went to, and I would say, "Yeah, definitely, it's got to be a big
Yeah.
difference because now you can get it out to a lot of people." Well, I'm talking to you, right?
Right.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
yeah,
Yeah.
and that wasn't there before. So I would say, yeah, the internet definitely helps. And there's a lot of Rush Facebook groups. There's a lot of Instagram. There's a lot of places where Rush fans go, and it's a lot easier now for us to just pop out a message saying, "Hey, we're having Rush Fest Canada or RushCon or whatever back then." Right? It's
Yeah.
amazing. Like, yeah, definitely now it's so much easier to get out to people. And yeah, and but it still amazes me. We're talking 10 years after the band has even played, right? And yet we're
Yeah.
still getting two, three, four, 500 people out to Rush fan conventions.
What do you think makes that like it's obviously a Rush community. What makes
Yep.
it like any other fandom? And you gave us some things like there. You said, well, some of us, we just show up alone and then we're just part of this group, this family.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
what makes it unlike any other music fandom? I mean, like, look at we could throw out, you could throw out the Rolling Stones and you could throw out all these other bands and you say, well, there's this group of fans, but what makes Rush fandom?
Well, that's a good question. I think what it is Rush is. I was actually interviewed on CBC when Rush got inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, and I'll never forget that. And I'll be appreciative all my life. So I was on the national news on Canada, right?
Yeah.
And one of the statements I made that CBC echoed was, "There's no part-time Rush fans. You're either a Rush fan or you're not." Right? And I think that's the steady thing among all these fans. All the fans that come out, we're all Rush fans, die hard. I mean, we love everything about Rush, the lyrics, the songs, the musicianship. It's just like, and then we can all relate to that, and it's just neat to be able to sit there and talk to somebody. Go, hey, you remember when Neil did this, or like Neil's lyrics, or oh man, the bass solo, and what, it's like, and we can all relate to that. And I think what's different is that Stones fans, and maybe even AC/DC fans, all that, they're out there, but I don't hear of too many conventions where people are going to sit there and just celebrate everything about the band you love. And what we do is we add a twist on it where we raise funds for charity. And that's always been a key
Awesome.
component of all the Rush fans conventions. We raise money for charity. So we're enjoying Rush, but we're also doing like Rush did, and we're raising funds for charity.
Noble, very noble. And we're going to talk a little bit about that in a
Yep.
few moments. Let me ask another question too.
Yep.
Because you've done what you've done, the amount of times you've seen them, your involvement, your inclusion, you've gone from just being a fan to it being some kind of life's work of some sort. How
Yeah.
does that transition happen? And did you know it was happening when you were doing it?
That's a great question. I started a website in 2001 called the Canadian Music Scene, and I'm a computer guy. But I play drums. I've played in bands over the years, and I said, what should I do? Like I said, Y2K made me think that mainframe computers are going the way of the dodo bird. What should I do? I said, I'll start a website called the Canadian Music Scene because I have connections everywhere in the music. Not well, I say everywhere, mostly a lot of spots in the music scene. And then what happened is I would talk to Alex like at a golf tournament or something like that, and I would get some quotes. Oh, all of a sudden I'm going for a few thousand hits to tens of thousands. I'm going, well, there's something to be said about this, right? And then I slowly grew and I started covering like, Live 8. I started covering like the Virgin Festival. And it just kind of built to the point where I was now getting a very reputable source. I covered the Junos every year, Canada Songwriters Hall of Fame, Canada Walk of Fame,
Yeah.
and then I started getting interviews with bands and take pictures and all that stuff. And it just was like, wow, this is pretty cool. And then I kind of pushed that onto like knowing people in Rush. I was lucky that I knew Peggy Ciccone, who was the senior vice president. Are we allowed to swear on this channel or? uh,
If you want, we'll just put a label
well,
on
she
everything
she
else.
she said she'd never be the president. Ray Daniels would always be the head of SRO. So she said she named herself QOFE, the Queen of Fucking Everything. and but she's senior vice president. She was with Rush Race from the beginning. I befriended her, and then from there I went on. I did road crew interviews where I spent like 16, 17 shows in a row, or I would sit with one road crew member for the day and document what they did, documenting all the PA system on the ground and putting it back together bit by bit. One time for just before the Cleveland show, I helped Lauren stop Neil's kit, which is a highlight to me for forever. And so I think from there it kind of built into the fact that I got to know a lot of people. And it's just you don't rock the boat. I go golfing with Alex from time to time, and I got to know his sister and his mom, and we were still good friends. And then Neil's sisters and mom, and it just kind of built up. I guess I have a trust with people because I don't. If people tell me stuff that's not to be told, I don't tell it. Or even if I've got my camera and they're sitting at a function and they're with their family, I don't put my camera right in their face. I'll put it on my side and I'll just talk to them. So you just kind of build a trust with them over time. And then before you know it, wow, this is pretty cool, right? And yeah, so I know a lot of
What a
people in the
phenomenal
Rush camp.
story, going from
Yeah,
being in the audience, as
yeah,
a
yeah,
young kid, to having that intimate relationship with not just the band member, the band member's family, and then
yeah,
being able to celebrate their life and advocate for some of the causes that they believed in. Look, I don't know if I'm allowed to ask this next question because
yeah.
I don't know that you're going to be able to answer it.
Okay,
But I'm going to throw it out to you.
okay,
I can throw it out early. I was gonna wait till the end, but now we're into the little bit of the weeds of the question.
okay,
Do you
yeah.
have a favorite song from Rush?
Oh, wow.
See, I knew
Yeah, yeah.
it.
It's a hard question to answer because people will say like every one of them. But
Yeah.
I would have to say one that as you get older that stands out more and more is "Time Stands Still."
Hmm.
Because when Neil wrote that, back then I went, whatever. But then as you get older, you realize that, the lyrics are so pertinent. Like, I mean, yeah, we're getting older, old friends growing older, like, and emotions and then enjoying families. Like, just everything about that song, it resonates with you as you get older. And you just realize, wow, like this guy wrote this song how many years ago? And now as I'm getting older, everything about that song is so relevant to life. It really is. Yeah. So I mean, for lyrics wise and for like, wow, really hitting the spot, yeah, it would be that. I mean, but if you come into like this pure musical, no, Natural Science is one of my favorite songs. I mean, that song's just unreal. I mean, the guy wrote about universes and pools that are left behind by pools, right? It's like, wow, who can hell write that? And then who can sing that? Getty can sit there and sing it, right? And play a wicked bass. It's just like that's what I love about them. It's like Neil can write this stuff, and who can mostly even think about it, right? I don't know if you saw the Trailer Park Boys episode when they captured Alex, and he goes, "Oh yeah, yeah, who writes shit like that?" He goes, "Give me an R, give me O, give me a C, give me a K. That's the lyrics, right?" He goes, "Never mind these two hemispheres talking together." That just summed it up right there, basically. Like wow, the stuff they wrote about. If I can continue on one quick thing, it's like I've brought Nancy and Judy over and Terry Brown and Hugh Syme over to Scotland for RushFest Scotland. I've had Sally over this year and her daughter. And the one thing that's gone every time when we're leaving is these people say, wow, people just want to come up and say how much my brother meant to them, right? Especially Neil. People were writing up saying like, I couldn't get through high school. I couldn't do this. I couldn't that if I didn't
Yeah.
hear Neil's lyrics. And that's a key component of Rush. I mean, not even just their unbelievable musicianship, but the lyrics hit a lot of people. Like they helped them. A lot of people helped them through life, basically, right? And that's
You
pretty
know,
cool. How many bands can you say did that?
it's interesting that you bring that up because
Yeah,
I was gonna. One of the things I wanted to mention was I do a lot of these interviews and around the genre gamut of music, right? Like
yeah,
from mainstream metal to rock to you name it. One of the things that happens in a lot of the conversations that I have, and it's not always online, sometimes it's offline as we kind of set up the interview or afterwards even, but
yeah,
Rush is consistently one of the bands that comes up as both a favorite and one that artists will say they think of Canada, they think of Rush.
yeah.
Why do you think there's this identity or like this? Why do you think these artists who've gone on to, have their own success still link back to Rush? And then why do they think Rush Canada just, that it just goes, right?
Yeah, that's interesting. I mean, to me, I've never thought about it because Rush and Canada have always been the same thing, right? I mean, Rush is a Canadian band, right? And they're from Canada, and I think they still love the roots, even though Neil moved down to the States,
Yeah.
at near the end. He was always taunting Canada, right? Like and Alex and Getty are huge, like like we're Canadian, and I it's great to see because there could be reasons for, oh, we moved to the States, all of them and all that stuff. But Alex and Getty never did. They just stayed here, right? And Neil, for obvious reasons, went down to the States, but he was always supporting Canada. Like he still got his place. Well, he still had his place in Quebec, right? Like a little lake
Yeah.
and a cabin up there, and always visited it. So I think there's this yeah, I mean, it's cool to me. It's like being Canadian and a proud Canadian. Wow, this is cool that like people recognize Rush as being Canadian, and it's to me, it's like it's great. Yeah, yeah,
Neil was one of the guys I was thinking at some point I would get to have on the show interview. It
yeah,
never happened. So, things that don't happen, regrets in life never happened, but that really would have had loved that opportunity. But let's shift gears. We've done some introduction here about you,
yeah,
the band, the linkages. Let's talk what we're doing today. And
yeah,
there's an inspiration to bring Rush Fest to Canada this year.
yeah, yeah.
So, and you've mentioned, hey, 10th anniversary of Rush's final concert. Why now? Why on the 10th anniversary?
It just happened to be. We were thinking of dates, and we looked at it and said, well, you know what? That's exactly 10 years. And we thought about it a lot because we thought, is that a good thing or a bad thing? Like, are people going
Hmm.
to be, wow, man, it's 10 years since the last show and since they stopped playing? Or is it kind of cool thing that, yeah, it's 10 years since the last show. Let's keep it going. Let's keep Rush's spirit and their music going. And then we talked about where to have it. And, we kind of jokingly at first said Massey Hall, right? I mean, Massey Hall's like iconic in Canada. It's like, and it was a huge venue for Rush too, right? So it just all of a sudden clicked in like that's where we got to have it, right? We got to have it at Massey Hall. And then we added the second day because we had a lot of people contacting us saying, well, we want to do this, we want to do that. You only got so many hours, at Massey Hall. We got 3 hours and a bit, to put on a show. So we're trying to squeeze as much as we can in there. And we said, well, let's do Saturday at TD Music Hall, which is the new part built at the back of Massey Hall. And we thought, okay, yeah, why don't we do that? And we've got two main tribute bands. We've got like an all-star band. We got some cool guests coming up that I'll be interviewing. Like Kevin Anderson. I don't know if you've heard of Kevin. He helped write the books, Clockwork Angel books with Neil. He's been a friend of Neil's for I think 20, 30 years. Right, so he's a natural guy to get up. I just was talking with Michael Sadler from Saga, and it looks like he'll come up. Like I don't know if he'll be singing, but he is a good friend with Kevin. Has worked with a lot of stuff with Kevin, so we get him up, right? And so I'll just be conducting interviews with some of these guys. We just found out another guy. Oh my God, I want to get it right. Brad French. Or yeah, Brad French. So Brad was one of Neil's best friends. I guess apparently he went over to London when Neil went to London when he was a young kid, and they've been best friends ever since. And I don't know if you recognize the last name, we had a very terrible thing happen in Canada way back, and he's related to Kristen French. So
Mm,
yeah, so that's a sad thing. Like Nobody's Heroes was basically part of the lyrics are written about that,
mm.
and he approached us and said like I'd like to come out on that stuff, and I said wow, this is cool. Let's get Brad out. Like some of the stories he'll be able to tell us, and just to pay some honor and tribute to the what a tragic thing it was. And it's a mixed thing, right? You don't know if it's the right thing to do because of what happened, but when he approached and said blah blah blah, let's do it. I said cool. So like he'll be up there. We'll interview him. He's going to have some great stories.
Phenomenal.
Yeah,
Yeah,
like
it
Nan.
sounds like you're gaining some momentum behind the whole thing, and as
Yeah, we
people
had
are
a couple of setbacks. I mean, when you get a certain age, Betty, Neil's mom, and Melania, Alex's mom, they're in their 90s, right? And they're having some issues. I mean, nothing major. Let me make that
yeah,
clear right
yeah.
away. But just stuff that would stop them from coming. So I mean, they really wanted to come, but fortunately, we've had to backtrack them out of the show. But we got Nancy coming, in Neil's sister, who helps run the Peart Family Memorial Golf Tournament every year, all that stuff, and she's got a lot of cool stories. So we've got a lot of cool people coming out. Yeah, Terry Brown, who produced the first 9 Rush albums. Basically, a lot of people consider him the fourth member of the band. Hugh Syme, we did all the album covers. He's coming out. So we got some cool people coming out, and I'm going to be interviewing all those people and bringing them up on stage. We don't have a whole lot of time, but enough to bring them up and ask them a couple of key questions and let
It's a,
everybody say thank you. you know,
it's a treat.
yeah,
This is
yeah,
all a treat. You've got a real good lineup, and it's a treat. You mentioned Massey Hall. It is where
yep,
Rush recorded All the World's a Stage.
yep.
Obviously, there's some kind of meaning to this, symbolically, emotionally, or you feel that some of that'll come out as you're doing this, Paul?
I think it will. We've
Yeah.
had a lot of people, like people I know and on different Facebook groups and all that stuff say, wow, what a great idea. It's like, yeah, I mean, a lot of people will realize the history behind it, right? I mean, I'm looking forward just like, here I'm going to be walking on the stage where they played, where Getty and Alex were not too long ago doing Getty's book interview, right?
Yeah.
It's like, that's pretty cool.
So it is. It's phenomenally cool. I'm sort of living through this, trying to picture it all and going, wow, right?
Yeah.
You mentioned Steve Brown a couple of times,
Yeah.
lifelong
Yeah.
musician from Scotland, launched RushFest back in 2014, inspired by his late songwriting partner Angie Townsend, who
Yes.
passed away from cancer in 2016,
Answer.
unfortunately. To date, the events and albums, and you said, look, a big component of this was charity, raising,
Yeah.
recognition, part of what the band, wanted to do too.
Yeah.
It's raised over $265,000 Canadian for charity.
Canadian. Yeah. And
Yeah.
yeah. Yeah.
Now,
Yeah.
how do you start working with Steve, who's all the way in Scotland, and then, you hinted at this when we first opened the interview up. You talked a little bit about how this helps people, how maybe does Rush's music, do these events, does it help processing grief, healing, resilience, any of those? Sorry, two questions.
I think it really does.
Yeah,
It really does. Like I say, a lot of people, like I say, what the really fascinating part with talking with Nancy and Judy, Neil's sisters, and Sally, and Sally's daughter Xenia, was when we went back and we're flying back home from Scotland, how they all said, "Wow, how many people were touched by Rush? How many people got through high school because of Rush? How many people got through life because of Rush?" And like Steve being able to do this Rush Fest Scotland and raising funds for cancer when Angie died from cancer, right? So she was a lovely person, and
phenomenal.
her daughters are lovely people, and it's just like, yeah, when we can sit there and do that, and then the guys themselves, we can't get an endorsement because it's just there's so many places, so many venues, so many asking. But they sign stuff for me every time I've asked for anything anywhere. And like our best here's a cool one. The best one was after the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame induction ceremony. I was backstage, all that stuff, and they gave me a baseball signed by all 3 guys with RRHOF 2013. So I went, holy crap, look at this. And
Yeah.
I kept like a death grip on that thing all the way across on the plane and everything else. And I think we raised 3.5, 4,000 pounds just from that.
Wow.
But that's the type of guys they are. They're, if you're doing charity, if you're supporting them, stuff like that, they've always helped out. Like I've take pictures of them, like Governor Generous Performing Arts Awards. I've Canadian songwriter. I have a media pass, so I go to all these events. I take pictures. I bring those pictures, and the guys will always sign them. And we take them over there to and people pay good money because they want that stuff for their collection, and
Sure.
even people will pay good money just because they believe in supporting.
Now,
Right.
how do you get involved with Steve on this?
Well, Steve came over in 2012 to Canada. Yeah, he started a Facebook group about Alex life and guitars. And I'm a drummer, but I have Alex's 355, like a copy, a Gibson custom shop. And I was golfing one time, with Alex, and he signed it for me. So Steve's sitting there going, "Look at my 355." I didn't want to like show up or anything. So I posted my picture, and he goes, "Holy, you Alex has signed it." I said, "Yeah," and we just kind of kept in touch after that. And then he came over, and I think also maybe when he approached Anthem, maybe about who's the guy to contact about this and that, and they pointed him to me, and we've been best friends ever since. And 2014, he decided to start RushFest Scotland. And they've moved up because the first year I was a guest speaker. So we've moved up a little bit. And then I
Uh,
guess I'm lucky with the connections I have in the Rush camp that, one year Alan Weinrib couldn't make it over, get his brother, but we did a Skype with him, and then one year I got Terry over. We actually brought him over physically. And like you say, then over the years, Donna Halper and a bunch of people in the Rush camp, and then eventually, accumulating with Hugh and Terry and Nancy and Judy, and then 2 years later with Sally and Xenia, Alex's sister and daughter, and then between that we had Jonathan Dinklage, who was coming out, by the way, on the first, and he played in the Clockwork Angel String Ensemble. So we actually had three members of the Clockwork Angel String Ensemble over a couple years ago, and Adele and Ancho and Jonathan, and like that was so cool. We did some rehearsals, and then like to see them playing with moving pictures on stage, and the crowd went crazy. Right? Like, I mean, how many chances do you have to see three of the actual members of the
yeah.
Clockwork Angel String Ensemble, right? And yeah, so he's coming over there. He's going to play a couple of compilations. I always had to stop and think about that word, compilations. That he's done, and then at one point he'll be losing it, and it's people will lose it. That's all I can say about that, right? And and I don't know if you know Jonathan, who his brother is. He's got a pretty famous brother, and his brother is Peter Dinklage from Game of Thrones, right? So pretty good lineage in that family. And yeah, Jonathan's just a great guy. We're looking forward to him come over. Yeah,
Paul, what do you
yeah.
think Neil would think of this?
Wow, there's a good question. I don't know if you ever heard of a night for Neil. We had a big event
Yeah.
for Neil. I was
Yeah.
one of the people that helped work on that, and we had a long thought process about it because Neil wasn't the type of guy that would be big onto this stuff. But we also thought, you know what, we've got a lot of fans that want closure,
Hmm.
and we kind of went with that attitude and said we put it together, and Neil's family endorsed it. They said, yeah, let's go with it, all that stuff. And yeah, I mean, there was times when I thought, boy, am I doing the right thing? But then when we ended up doing it and seeing how many people were just so happy to be there, and so many people just want to celebrate his life, so I would say, would Neil himself, I don't know. I don't think he would have been totally impressed with that, but was it the right thing to do? I would have to say yes, also, just because. Well, we had 4,000 people that night,
Yeah.
right? And
Well, and there
yeah,
is
yeah.
there is the charity element to it.
And the
And
charity out, yes, we
yeah, there
raised
is the charity
sixty
element to it.
thousand for different charities. So yeah, yeah,
Right. So I'm interested in knowing there's the partnership here is with Sunnybrook Health Sciences Center, Sunnybrook
yes.
Hospital. The decision to fund brain cancer research came about in this capacity. So is Neil's memory part of the guiding force behind
Yes,
this?
so there's a couple of things behind why I chose that one because Steve let me go with it. It is a charity that Rush contributed to themselves. So it used to be called the Gord Downey Brain Cancer Research Fund,
Right.
and
Yeah.
Rush got a lifetime achievement. And people, oh, lifetime achievement. I go, yeah, one of them was 4,000. I'm just kidding, but I mean, they deserved it, and they got lots. They won something like $40,000. They doubled it,
Mm.
and gave that money to the Gordon Downey Brain Cancer Research Fund at Sunnybrook. So when I first approached Sunnybrook, they said yes, but we don't call it that anymore. But we still have the Brain Cancer Research Fund. And I said, well, okay, I think that's a no-brainer. We'll stick with that. And of course, everything we donate is in the name of Neil, right? So that's,
Awesome.
and I don't know if you know, like, unfortunately, his brother Danny passed fairly recently, and we're friends with Danny too. He was supposed to come over to Scotland this year, and fortunately, it didn't work out. And there's two wonderful people that were
Yeah.
brought down way too early because of this awful disease, right? And in a way, it even strengthens us a bit more. Just like, let's raise more and more funds because it's needed. Because here's two people that we all loved and struck down by it. There's got to be some way of finding a cure or a treatment or something, right? Yeah,
It's funny, like sometimes the inspiration that people leave behind is sometimes greater than the inspiration than when they were here. Like if they could only know
yeah,
what the impact that they've had on us and on you and being able to do something like this and people coming out to celebrate their life, but also contributing to things like this important charity.
yeah,
Which makes me think about the loyalty of fans when it comes to Rush. They are famously loyal. We talked about
yeah,
that,
yeah,
but there's
yeah,
also another element that's happened too. The fans are quite intergenerational. When it comes to the band, when it comes to Neil as well. Like I do remember, Neil interacting with folks online, I believe at times, or being there with fans, I guess is what I could say. What
yeah,
do you think it continues to resonate with the younger audiences even now?
yeah,
Because I know from my own children, when they tap into music, and they've recently tapped into Rush, and it's just like, hey,
yeah,
what is this? And it's
yeah,
like,
yeah.
it's Rush, right? But
Yeah.
why do you think that, it still resonates?
That's a good question because, like, Steve, his band Moving Pictures is probably one of the top Rush tribute bands in the UK, and they play like 70, 80, maybe 100 gigs a year. And one thing he keeps pointing out is the fact that everywhere we play, we end up looking in the audience, and there's kids in their early teens, out there, and they're right into it. Like it's not just like they're, oh my, I'm listening to this Rush. They know the lyrics, they know the
Yeah.
songs, everything. So, I mean, I guess it's the same resonance that I had when I was 13, 14. It's like they're feeling the same thing, which is great.
Yeah.
I just love the fact that we have young kids that are, and to me, it gives me hope in the
It has
fact that,
transcended. They have transcended time. They really
yeah,
have.
it
The
has.
music has.
It's like, so are these kids not resonating
Yeah.
with the lyrics? Why not? Right?
Yeah.
Has things changed that much that they wouldn't resonate with like subdivisions, be cool or be cast out, right? I mean, like, it's like, do they resonate to the same lyrics and feel better about themselves, and are they musicians? It's like, is he a
There
guitar
are
player
some.
sits there and
Yeah.
goes, well, Alex is unbelievable. Oh, listen to Getty. Like Getty, he sings the
Yeah.
lyrics. He plays bass. He plays keyboards. He freaking triggers stuff.
Absolutely.
Holy wow, the he's a monster, right? And then of course you get to my favorite guy, being a drummer, Neil. I mean, they're unbelievable. Like all three of
Yeah.
them are unbelievable musicians. And then you throw in Neil's lyrics. Wow, it's like
So Paul, I gotta ask. Being a Canadian boy, right? And you know the
yeah.
way they are with hockey, right? Like everybody's like,
uh,
oh, I want to be Mario Lemieux. I want to be Wayne Gretzky. You wanted to be Neil Peart.
Oh, who or me? I wanted to be Neil Peart for sure.
Yeah.
Peart, I still do.
That's what I'm saying, right? Like
Yeah,
you were
yeah,
growing up and like, I want to be
yeah,
that.
yeah.
Yeah, that's
Well,
cool.
I mean, I played quite a bit. My drum kit, if you can imagine, looks exactly like Neil's last.
Uh,
Single bass
um,
drum. No, I don't have the double bass drum. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So look, you mentioned some performers that are
Yeah,
going to be doing the Rush Fest. Jacob
yeah.
Moon, Terry Brown, Hugh Syme.
Jacob, yeah, that's great. Yeah,
Um, it so Rush Fest is going to feel like a concert and a bit of a living museum, even with the other guests that you mentioned. So how do you balance celebration with
yeah.
preservation of Rush's history here?
Fridays, like I say, are a big night. You know, Massey Hours are a big show, so there's a different variety of how, what we're doing. It's not your traditional Rush fan convention. So we're starting off, with like, well, I'll just say it's Jonathan Dinklage, and he's going to be doing some cool stuff on his own. Then I'll bring up Nancy and Sally, and we're working maybe another person for like 15, 20 minutes. And just, I already told them, I want to hear about some stories from you, right? Like, what was like having Alex as a brother? What was like having Neil as a brother,
Right.
and stuff. And I get some cool stories. Then we got another artist like, say David Barrett coming up, and he's amazing. Then, and then Jacob's, I don't know if you've heard of Jacob, but I mean, Jacob's unbelievable. And he's going to do subdivisions. And then we have another really special song. Addie Berg rewrote Red Sector A, and it's unbelievable, the version. Like if there's a dry eye in the place, I'll be surprised. It's so touching. And the story behind that is that his father was liberated from the concentration camps when he was 12 years old.
Wow.
And he went into the German barracks and he took a violin and he brought it with him. At 12 years old, he managed to get across Europe, like going from city to city, carrying a violin and come over to America. Like that story itself is just wow, right? But so Addie's going to play it, Jacob's going to sing it, and we have Nina De Grigio is going to play the violin on it, and she's going to play that violin that came from the German concentration camps. So that's going to be, wow.
I get it. So there's
Yeah,
going to be an element of intimacy to the
yes, yeah,
shows that isn't just song after song after song,
no, no,
but a tribute in intimacy and storytelling
yep, yep,
and reliving some memories and sounds like some touching moments. Like I feel like
yeah.
it's gonna be quite of an emotional roller
It's going to
coaster.
be, yeah, and then after all that stuff, I'll bring out Terry, and I'll bring up Hugh, and I'll bring
Phenomenal.
Kevin Anderson up, and we'll just ask, I'm just basically, I told him, like, what I'm going to ask is basically, first time, why did you hear about Rush? Why did you stick with him?
Right.
And then some cool stories. Like Terry, what was it like
Yeah.
in recording? Hugh, what was it like working with Neil to develop the album covers? And then Kevin, like what was it like being good friends with Neil? And how did you work with him, the Clockwork Angels, and coming up with all that stuff, right?
Now, are you gonna are you gonna record this and make a documentary out of it or
I wish we could. Yeah, I
you
guess I
can't?
can say this. Don't. This is between you and I. The
Well, we're on the
cost.
show.
Oh yeah, well, the cost is pretty prohibitive if
Oh,
we
I
want
see.
to
Got it.
hire cameras and all that people. So we're going to kind of encourage people just to film it
Got it.
when they're in the crowd. So unless things change, and like you say, we're trying to raise as much money for charity as we can. So we don't, if we don't have that cost, then it's unfortunate. It may go. I think a lot of people will record parts of it,
Yeah.
but yeah, I wish, unless there's a sponsor out there that wants to contact me and help us
See
cover
what
the
we could do.
cost to record that.
Yeah, I'm just thinking like that it would be so phenomenal. The things
Well,
that
I think it would too,
that you're going
personally.
to capture, right? Like,
Yeah.
and then on top of this, like, there's another special thing. This year's Songs for Neil Volume 6 is
Six.
dropping
Yeah. Yeah.
on Neil's birthday, right?
Yeah. We always
Yeah,
try to release it on, on,
on
on
his
the
birthday,
12th, September 12th.
September
Yeah. Yeah.
12th. Now, how does that tradition start, and what's the process like curating and recording those tracks, like with
Yeah.
local artists? Like, can you tell us anything about the songs too, or am I
Uh,
allowed to ask yet? Or
this one, I don't know so many of the songs
okay,
because we're still putting it together.
okay,
But definitely how it started was after Neil died. We just said, well, let's what would put together a tribute, like an album full of songs. So it's all Rush songs. It's all tribute bands or artists that are Rush fans, and we just started off doing that. And then uh, over the years, it just started taking off. People go, "Well, we like this," and all of a sudden, we're getting emails and stuff from like hundreds of tribute bands all around the world. So we try to take we're trying to keep every song, and like we're trying to eventually have every Rush song covered.
Right.
So like we always put a little bit more to emphasis to songs that we haven't already done, but it's really cool. Like we get a lot of interesting versions of Rush songs. People here's like our version. We get some great actual copies. Like here's Red Sector A, or here's Red Barchetta, or stuff like that. And so we just started putting it all together to the point where we have a double album, right? And then even more songs on a CD. And then our favorite person, Hugh, decided, well, this is starting to take off. So he's starting to do all the album covers and all the artwork for our albums, right? So, and by the way, Hugh donates his time. It's all for charity. So, in typical Rush fashion, Hugh puts in some pretty amazing work and all that stuff, and he donates his time and does all the album work, everything, like not even just the covers, the inside, the sleeves, and stuff like that. And then we
Kudos to you for doing that. Where would we get volume 6? Where is it gonna be available?
it's not out yet. Like I said, this one's
No,
going to
no,
be
but
September
when we
12th.
do, yeah.
Oh, September 12th. You can go to RushFest Scotland, their
Oh,
webpage, and you can actually get all their albums still there. I think we have a few of each, but some of them are close to being sold out. But we also have artwork. So the original album covers, Hugh usually gives us several very fancily printed copies signed that we can also use
cool.
to raise funds for charity. Hugh's been a great guy. I've known Terry for a long time, and I tell you, he never ceases to amaze me. Another thing we're going to do is I'm getting guitars signed, and we're going to have an auction shortly, post up an auction. So I got Big Wreck. I know Ian and all the boys, and Chris and Dave and all them, and Siku and Big Wreck. So before one of their shows in Fallsview, I got them to sign a guitar. I got Rick Emmett to sign a guitar. Thank you, Rick. He's always another guy that's always there for that. Terry, his other half, her daughter is married to the lead singer of Billy Talent, so that kind of worked out. So we got guitar signed by Billy Talent. We're working on Kim Mitchell getting guitar, and then on
Oh,
the Friday nights, I have a double neck guitar. It's a copy, but like Steve will be playing that. But we have all our meet and greet with all our VIPs, so you can get a meet and greet pass and you come down. We have a couple of drinks for you, and then you can mingle along with all the VIPs, all those performers with Terry, Hugh, Nancy, all them. And I'm going to get them to all sign the double neck, and then we'll put that up for auction too for raising funds for charity. So
cool.
yeah, that'd be pretty cool.
Paul,
Yeah.
is there a long-term vision for RushFest in Canada? Is this
I
a
think
one and done, or are we gonna?
well, you know what, with all the amount of work and everything that's been going into it, we thought, but then as it gets closer, and we'll see how the night goes. It's the same as Rush for Scotland. Steve every year for like 8 years has been saying never again, never again, and I'm over there the next year, right, to help it out with it. So I would say we'd like to continue. I don't think we'd have it at Massey Hall again, and it's nothing against Massey Hall. It's just it's a huge venue. It's a lot of history. Is just really tough to get that filled up, right? We're doing okay in ticket sales, but it's still, we could use a lot more, right? And it's just, so I think if we did have it again, we'd have it maybe both nights at the
Yeah.
TD Music Hall, which holds about 400, and maybe even the El Macombo. I've talked to El Macombo a couple of times about maybe hosting it there. So,
Oh yeah. Listen,
yeah.
there's some phenomenal venues in the GTA. You've got the
Oh yeah.
Danforth Music Hall,
Well,
right?
yeah, Danforth
You've
is
got
awesome.
Richmond Hill Center for Performing Arts.
Yeah,
Beautiful.
I've only been up there once, but yeah, it's very nice. Yeah,
Beautiful, right? Yeah. Like,
yeah,
hey, come on up this week. Bring it north, and
yeah, 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 yeah.
Look at us. I'm saying north like it's only 30 kilometers from Toronto, right? Like,
Well, but like you
how
said earlier,
embarrassing for
we
a Sault
know
Ste. Marie
it's like
guy.
yeah, 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 yeah. There's the Great
Yeah.
Hall. I don't know if you've ever been to the Great Hall in Adelaide.
Yeah.
That's pretty cool. Like we had a Rush Con there before,
Oh, cool.
and it's like 1,000, with a nice venue and all that stuff. So yeah, there's a lot of great places in
Look, it
Toronto to
doesn't
host
sound
it.
like you'd be hard to convince to do it on year 2
Well,
here.
no, I
So,
don't think it would
like,
be. It's like like I say, it's just like it's been a lot of work to get
yeah,
get into Massey Hall and do all that stuff. So maybe it's like a venue like wow, like it's a huge venue, it's an iconic venue.
right.
We're working with them, and it's like it's going to be awesome. Like I
Cool.
mean, I'm the MC for the both nights, and it's going to be pretty neat walking out the first bit and going, wow, look at all the people and talking and realizing the people are there to see all this stuff. And yeah, and then I'm interviewing all the special guests. I'm going, how did I get all this get put on me? I know
Yeah, that's gonna be awesome.
but Steve's playing, so like with the band. So yeah, so the second part on Friday is going to be all moving pictures, probably 70 to 80 minutes worth of Rush music, nothing but Rush music. And like I said, they're one of the top tribute bands in UK. They get a lot of their venues sold out when they play all across UK. So going to be a great night. They're amazing. They're a three-piece. Got a girl drummer. We got Jamie playing on the drums, and she's amazing. But it's just so unique to have like a fiery redhead Scottish lass playing drums, right? So and then Owen, who is moving pictures Getty, another guy. Like sometimes he pisses me off how talented he is, right? So he can play the violin, he can play the keyboards, he can play the bass, he can sing,
Solid.
right? So, it's one of these guys that it's like, so it's a true three piece, which is nice too, right? I mean, I love tribute bands and 4 or 5 piece. That's cool. They do their thing, but a true three piece with a
Mm.
female drummer, it's pretty cool. It's pretty unique, right? So yeah, yeah,
Something to look forward to. Look, man, I there's so
yeah,
much going on here. We've talked about so many things.
yeah.
Um, when you were saying your favorite song, I wrote down because I wanted to let you know one of my favorite songs, probably my all-time favorite songs, is "The Seeker."
Oh
Uh,
wow, yeah, yeah.
yeah, I know
Off
it's probably
feedback, right? Yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
it's probably like when you think Rush, maybe you don't think "The Seeker." I just
Oh,
what
I
reason?
love that album. Feedback. I
Yeah.
listen to it all the time. Yeah, yeah.
So that was
It
my
is cool.
favorite. I
Yeah,
thought I'd throw that to you. Look, man, I want to thank you for being here, for sharing. Like you're very passionate. You've obviously, got a life's work here, and doing something very phenomenal. Not just for bringing the Rush piece out, but even the big charity component to this. So,
yeah, yeah,
the sense of community cause and
yeah,
legacy, right? So,
yeah.
is there anything that you would like to share with us before we close out our talk today?
Well, yeah, that's a good question. I mean, I think I'm most proud of the fact that like I was help out with all the Rush cons, Rush Family Reunion, RushFest Scotland, now RushFest Canada. Like I've always made sure that a key component of that is the charity part. And between all the ones I've partaked in, we've raised a lot of money for charity, and I think that's something to be proud of. It's like Rush donated what millions of dollars to charity, and that was one thing they always believed in. And I only help out people with different Rush events if that's going to be a component that like
Yeah.
we raise money, whether it be like brain cancer research, like we used to raise money for the daily food bank. Anybody that's less fortunate and needs help, we come out and we celebrate Rush. We have a great time. We yap and talk about Rush. We enjoy Rush. We laugh. We listen to the music. But eventually, thanks to the guys and stuff like that, signing stuff, we raise good funds for charity. So I would just say, like, I hope you come out, enjoy everything about Rush. We're trying to make sure that hey, look at the people you can meet. The key components of Rush. Whether it be crew or people that recorded them, did all the artwork, and enjoyed Rush music like we do at all the fan conventions, and raise funds for charity. That's what it's all about. Yeah.
Paul, thank you again for being here
Well,
and
thank you
for
for your support. This is great. I enjoyed it. Yeah, yeah,
I appreciate how you shared your passion for this.
yeah,
And once again, RushFest Canada 2025 is happening Friday, August 1st at Massey Hall, Saturday, August 2nd at TD Music Hall in Toronto,
yeah.
marking exactly 10 years since Rush played their final concert. The event
Exactly.
features
Yeah,
an incredible lineup of tribute artists, special guests like Terry Brown, Hugh Syme, Jacob Moon, many more. All profits will support brain cancer research at Sunnybrook Hospital in memory of Neil Peart. Uh, Tickets are on sale now at masseyhall.mhrth.com,
yeah,
tdmusichall.mhrth.com. I'll have those in the show notes. VIP
yeah,
packages available at rushfestcanada.ca. Don't
yeah.
wait. This is
Meet
a
and greets
once
too.
in a generation celebration for Rush fans. It's happening right here in the band's hometown. And of course, we want folks to go to the show. But if you can't,
Yeah,
in the spirit of charity, you can still contribute by supporting the Brain Cancer Research Fund at Sunnybrook Health Sciences Center with an online donation. Tax receipts donations of $20 or over will be issued via email shortly after your donation. Paul, thank you, and I hope to see you at
yeah.
RushFest.
Yeah, I hope you well come out. Just let me know if you're coming. We'll put you on our guest list for sure.
Let's talk after the show, man. Let's talk. All right.
Yeah, and one quick one. So it's
Yeah.
rushfestcanada.ca. We have
Yes.
all the information on there because we're like I say, we're also doing the auction, and we thank all the people that have been helping us. And also, there's a link to the donation there if you can't make it. Yeah,
We'll get that in the show notes. Take care, Paul.
perfect. Yeah, take care. Thanks. Yep.